Hello, I'm the Brown BookTuber and welcome to my channel where I discuss books from all across Asia. Today we're going to be talking about my November wrap up, and I read 4 books this November, and let's just jump right into it. So the first book I read was Mr. Loverman by Bernardine Evaristo. I absolutely adore this book. I made a whole video on it in itself, so click I think here to check out that video in its entirety and then come back here because we're going to move on to the next book. The next book is South of the Border and West of the Sun by Murakami. I got that name right. I almost thought I messed it up. I always mess up that name. This book was fine. It wasn't the best Murakami book I read. It was very short for a Murakami book, about 200 pages, if even that. Short, sweet. Yeah, it was fine. It was a middling Murakami book for me. Not my least favourite Murakami book, but very okay, in my opinion. I made a whole other video about Murakami protagonists, which you can check out here. I felt like the protagonist was a little bit bland for Murakami. I know a lot of his protagonists are very cut and paste, but this one in particular was very bland. The supporting cast was kind of interesting. The heroine / femme fatale in this was a very interesting character, to say the least. Some of the other supporting cast you really kind of got to feel a little bit more than you sometimes do in Murakami books. But as a whole, yeah, not the best Murakami book, but if you want a short read and you really like Murakami, then I'll recommend it. If you want to get into Murakami, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it is a good first book to read as a Murakami book. Thirdly, we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, I'm going to read the name, Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I apologize if I said that wrong. This book was one that I really wanted to read for a long time. I believe I saw it a long while ago, maybe the beginning of 2021, in store, and I was like, that looks really interesting. I might pick that up. Never did. A friend lent it to me, and I read the entire thing in one day. Not even a day, in one sitting. It's about 200 and something pages, and I just was so consumed by it. I was like, I need to finish this today. The book does start off very slow. The first chapter / part is entirely world building, essentially, and the character that is focused on in that part, because different characters are focused on in each part of this book, that character is one I personally didn't feel like I could get as emotionally invested in as some of the other characters in the book. But again, that first part is very much world building, introducing everyone, introducing the context of the book, and this isn't a spoiler, but this is a cafe where you can travel through time to another time in the cafe, and that first chapter is really setting up the rules, the logistics of the time travel, and then all of the characters that are going to interact with it. So it's interesting. It's a very cool take on time travel. Honestly, I do not like time travel. I personally feel most of the time travel is used poorly and is basically a MacGuffin for a creative, and it's like bad time travel is just proof of bad writing. In this, the time travel is actually fine. I don't think the time travel is bad in this book. I think the time travel is done well, or at least better than, I don't know, actually no. It's similar to Avengers. It's similar to, yes, Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Avengers Endgame, they are the same. No, but time travel is handled well in Avengers, and the consequences of it is handled well, as is time travel and the consequences of it in Before the Coffee Goes Cold. That's handled very well. So I'm going to recommend this book. Again, a bit of a slow start, but once you kind of get into it, especially if you're like me who's a very emotional reader, you will want to continue reading and see what happens to each character, because the setups for each part are pretty good, and they're kind of set up prior to that character's part, which is really great. but the payoffs are what you want. You want the payoff for each character, and you really want to hit those beats, which is great. And finally, and far from least, is the autobiography of Malcolm X by Malcolm X and assisted by Alex Haley. So this is a book I've been wanting to read for a long time. I read it once when I was much younger, but I've not read it since I've properly been an adult. So I decided to read it again, and it hit a lot harder. Everything that happened to Malcolm X, all of his thoughts, all of his opinions, all of the things he went through prior to going to prison, his time in prison, his time in the Nation of Islam, his time after the Nation of Islam. A lot of that stuff was a lot more poignant now to me. I have heard this isn't the best autobiography or the best biography of Malcolm X. I will put the comment that is suggesting a better biography. I thought this was very good, so if there's one where it is better, then I will definitely check that out. I'm going to put the comment here. But yeah, a fantastic read. I mean, just to learn more about Malcolm X, especially when being educated, especially in the UK, you don't really know about Malcolm X. You don't go into depth. Like when we learned civil rights, or at least when I learned the civil rights, it was kind of like the meme that you often see on the internet, where it's like slavery ended, then Jim Crow happened, then Martin Luther King had a dream, then it was fine. Racism fixed, civil rights fixed, which isn't the case. We never really go in depth about all of these prominent figures. At least I didn't. So in school, I didn't learn a lot about Malcolm X. I kind of got the Martin Luther King was, hey, this man was a really nice, peaceful guy, and Malcolm X, oh, he's the bad kind of civil rights activist. That's kind of the gist I got from my education in school. So it's really great to actually hear the words from Malcolm X himself, or at least in the book form. So yes, great. I'm looking forward to reading that other biography, which is apparently even better than this one. And I encourage you to read this autobiography, especially if you, like me, are interested in the civil rights movement, or you are interested in Malcolm X as a person, but you've never really had a proper education on him. This is a very good place to be educated on Malcolm X, and then from there you can go off and listen to some of his other speeches or his radio presentations, or read some of his pieces he's written. But yeah, I mean, as a very, I don't know if I want to say inspirational story, a very interesting story of a man whose life was just trials and tribulations throughout it. And I mean, it very prominent in the news that I was reading this book whilst the news about the men who were arrested for his killing were found to be not guilty of his killing, and you know, the potential foul play there. But I digress. This isn't the place where we're going to be discussing that. I do recommend you go and read this autobiography. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you've read some of these books. If you had, leave a comment down below what you think of any of these books I've mentioned. If you haven't, let me know which one of these 4 books you are going to check out. Thank you for watching. I hope you read a really great book today, tomorrow, the day after. Be sure you kind of like, subscribe, share the video. Hey, it's the holiday period, you know, try and snuggle up and read a book, or not snuggle up and read a book and be a very diligent reader and take notes if that's how you like to read, because I just want you to read. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna go read another book. Try and get to 50 books before the end of the year, baby. We'll probably hit 45.